The year was 2349. Humanity had spread far beyond Earth. Cities floated in space, colonies grew on distant planets, and trade ships crossed the galaxy every day. People believed they were living in the golden age of mankind. But far away, in the heart of the galaxy, a decision was being made that would change everything. The Galactic Council had gathered inside a massive shining hall on a planet called Avaris Prime. The Council was made up of the most powerful alien races in the galaxy. They ruled the trade routes, decided the laws, and controlled the peace between hundreds of civilizations. For centuries, they had tolerated humans. At first, they thought humans were weak, but now, humans were everywhere. They were growing stronger, building fleets, and colonizing planets faster than anyone expected. To the Council, this was a problem. At the center of the hall, the High Speaker of the Council stood up. His skin was silver like metal, his eyes glowing like molten gold. His voice echoed through the chamber. "Humans," he said, "are a danger to the galaxy. If we do not act now, they will rule it within 100 years. Some aliens argued that humans could still be reasoned with. Others shouted that humans were greedy and dangerous, that they would not stop until they controlled everything. The debate turned loud, almost violent. Finally, the High Speaker raised his hand. "Then it is decided," he said. "The Council will go to war with humanity. Their expansion will end now." The vote was taken. The result was clear. War. But not everyone in the Council agreed. One alien, an old ambassador named Koresh, stood quietly in the shadows. Koresh belonged to a peaceful race called the Virene. They had always believed in negotiation, not bloodshed. Koresh had worked with humans before. He had seen their courage, their loyalty, and their strange ability to survive anything. He feared what would happen if the Council attacked them. That night, Koresh secretly contacted an old human friend, Admiral Elias Ward of the Earth Defense Fleet. His message was short, urgent, and filled with fear. "Elias, listen to me. The Council has made its choice. They will attack. It will come without warning. Prepare your people. This war will end badly for us all." But the message never reached Earth. Somewhere along the way, the signal was intercepted and erased. No one knew who did it. 3 weeks later, strange things began to happen. Deep space mining stations stopped answering calls. Colonies at the edge of human territory went silent. Merchant ships vanished without trace. Most people thought it was just pirates, or maybe technical failures. But the truth was much worse. In the darkness beyond Pluto's orbit, hundreds of warships gathered. They belonged to the Council's fleets, ships larger than cities, with weapons powerful enough to split moons apart. They moved in silence, their black hulls blending with the endless night of space. Not even Earth's most advanced sensors detected them. Inside the Earth Defense Command, in a secure control room buried under New Geneva, the first alarm sounded. A red light flashed on the console of Lieutenant Mara Vance. She frowned, tapping the screen. "Sir," she said to her superior, "we're getting unusual readings from Deep Scan Array 4. Commander Holt walked over, rubbing his eyes. "Probably another glitch," he muttered. But when he looked at the data, his face changed. The scan showed hundreds of faint signals moving in tight formation, straight toward the solar system. Holt ordered a full system check. The results came back. The signals were real. "God," Holt whispered. "That's a fleet, a big one." Within minutes, the president of the United Earth Alliance was informed. Emergency meetings began. Generals, admirals, and top scientists gathered in the war room. The air was heavy with tension. No one knew who the ships belonged to. No one knew why they were coming. Some believed it was a mistake. Others feared it was the start of something terrible. But one thing was certain. They had only hours before the ships reached human space. On the outer edge of the solar system, the mining colony on Charon's moon sent a distress call. "Unknown vessels! Hundreds! They're here!" The voice of the operator crackled through the transmission. The call was cut short by static. In orbit around Earth, defense satellites turned toward the approaching threat. Massive cannons powered up. Fighter squadrons scrambled from their hangars. Across the world, news channels began to report rumors of an incoming, mysterious fleet. People watched their screens in fear and confusion. But in the shadows of the approaching armada, the Council's warships kept coming. No warnings, no messages, just cold silence. On board the lead Council ship, the High Speaker stood on the bridge, watching the distant glimmer of the sun. His golden eyes narrowed. "Humanity will not see another sunrise," he said quietly. "By the time they understand what is happening, it will already be over." Back on Earth, Admiral Elias Ward stood before a large display in the war room. The red markers on the map showed the enemy fleet, moving like a wall of death. He didn't know who they were yet, but something deep inside told him this was no ordinary enemy. This was an enemy that wanted nothing less than the destruction of humanity. He remembered the last time he had spoken to Koresh, years ago, during a peace conference on Vega Prime. The alien's words came back to him now. "If the Council ever turns its eyes on Earth, Elias, run!" But there was nowhere to run. In the cities below, life went on. Children played in parks. Workers hurried to their jobs. Lovers walked hand in hand under the artificial skies of dome cities. They had no idea that death was already on its way, moving silently through the blackness of space. The first wave would arrive in less than 20 hours. Admiral Ward took a deep breath and gave the order. "Activate Project Aegis, full planetary defense. No one stands down until we know exactly what we're facing." A low hum filled the air as ancient systems deep under Earth's crust began to wake. Project Aegis had been built centuries ago, a relic from a forgotten war. No one had ever tested it in battle. No one even knew if it still worked. But now, it was humanity's only hope. Outside, the night sky glittered with stars. Somewhere, out there, hundreds of alien warships moved closer with every passing second. Humanity stood on the edge of a war it did not start, a war it did not want, but one it could not avoid. And far away, on a world humans had never seen, Koresh sat alone in his quarters, staring out at the stars. He knew the Council had made a mistake, a terrible mistake, because humans, once provoked, were not easy to kill. Panic was spreading like wildfire across the highest levels of Earth's government as the truth became clear. The approaching fleet was not a ghost signal, not a trick of the scanners, but a living wall of metal and fire moving toward the solar system with deadly intent. In the war room, deep under New Geneva, the president stood at the head of a long table, her face pale but her voice steady as she addressed the gathered generals, admirals, and scientists. "We need to know who they are and what they want before they reach us," she said. But even as the words left her mouth, everyone in the room knew it was too late for questions. The time for diplomacy had passed. Across the solar system, orders went out for every colony, station, and outpost to go on high alert. Planetary Defense Command activated every orbital cannon, every missile silo, and every fighter squadron that could fly. Massive spaceports that had once been busy with traders and tourists now became military strongholds. Civilian ships were recalled, their crews ordered to stay grounded until further notice. But the enemy was already claiming victims. In the outer rim, the colony on Titan's second moon vanished from all communications. The last transmission was a single scream before static swallowed the signal. Reports began to flood in from mining, stations, and cargo freighters. Silent disappearances, no survivors, no wreckage, as if entire crews had been erased from existence. In a secure lab on Mars, scientists worked around the clock to study fragments from a destroyed probe that had crossed paths with the enemy fleet. The wreckage contained strange scorch marks and traces of an unknown energy signature, something no human technology could produce. "This is weapon-grade power," muttered Dr. Kalin, head of the Mars Research Division. "If they use this on Earth, there will be nothing left to defend." Meanwhile, Admiral Elias Ward stood at the center of the Defense Command bridge, watching the red dots on the star map crawl closer. He could feel the tension in the air, the unspoken fear that hung over every officer in the room. "We still don't know their exact numbers," Lieutenant Mara Vance reported, her hands flying over the controls. "But our best estimate is between 200 and 300 capital ships. That's not counting their escorts or fighters." Ward's jaw tightened. "That's enough to crush any world in the Alliance," he said quietly, almost to himself. Far above Earth's surface, in the black expanse of space, the first line of defense, 12 massive battle stations, stood, ready. Their guns were the size of skyscrapers, each capable of tearing apart an enemy cruiser with a single blast. But against the sheer scale of the Council fleet, even these giants seemed small. Unknown to most, a captured Council scout ship had been brought to a hidden research hangar under Antarctica. The crew had been found dead when it was discovered, though not from battle wounds. Their bodies were intact, frozen in expressions of terror, as if they had seen something moments before death that no living thing should see. The scientists examining them worked in silence, unnerved by the unnatural stillness of their faces. One of them, a young biologist named Dr. Nia Ralden, broke the silence. They weren't killed with weapons. This was something else, something inside their minds. Her words sent a chill through the room. Back in space, the Council fleet moved with terrifying precision, their formation tight, their movements silent, their ships almost invisible against the void. No hails, no demands, no attempt to communicate, only the relentless advance. For the first time in over 2 centuries, Earth broadcast a galaxy-wide emergency alert. The message was simple. Unknown hostile fleet inbound. All Allied ships, withdraw to defensive positions. Prepare for conflict. Across the galaxy, whispers began to spread. Some alien races who had traded peacefully with humans for decades sent messages of support, offering aid and supplies. But others, fearing the Council's wrath, cut all contact and sealed their borders. On the shadowed side of the moon, Project, Aegis continued to awaken. Massive towers rose from hidden silos, their surfaces glowing with ancient power. Deep beneath the Earth's crust, machines that had not been touched in hundreds of years roared to life, drawing energy from the planets. Molten Heart. Admiral Ward stood watching the activation feeds with grim satisfaction. "If they want to fight," he said, "they'll get one." But deep down, he knew even Aegis might not be enough. As the enemy fleet drew closer, Earth's intelligence. Networks intercepted a fragment of encrypted communication. It was short, barely understandable, but the translation chilled everyone who heard it. No survivors, no mercy, end the human threat. In the dark corridors of a hidden listening post near Neptune, an operator named Jace Miles leaned back in his chair, staring at the words on the screen. He whispered to himself, "They're not coming to conquer. They're coming to erase us." In the war room, silence fell as the enemy fleet crossed into the outer edge of the solar system. Alarms blared, orders flew, and the president gave the command that no leader ever wanted to give. Engage. Far away on his homeworld, Koresh watched the first reports of the battle flash across his display. The Council's ships were firing, without hesitation, erasing human outposts one by one. He closed his eyes, feeling the weight of his own failure to warn them. The shadows over Earth were growing darker, and somewhere deep inside he feared that what was coming was not just a war. but the beginning of extinction. The first clash came at the edges of the solar system, where the cold and silent void between Pluto and Neptune became a battlefield. Human defense fleets had been ordered to hold the line at all costs, but as the Council's warships emerged from the darkness, it became clear that this would not be a simple fight. The alien vessels were massive, shaped like dark blades cutting through space, their hulls absorbing most radar scans and scattering targeting locks. Admiral Elias Ward, aboard the flagship UES Valiant, gave the order to fire. Dozens of Earth's long-range railguns opened up, streaks of molten metal tearing through the black, followed by the blinding flash of missile detonations. Several Council escorts were struck, their hulls cracking open in explosions of strange green light. But the rest of the fleet pressed forward without hesitation. Human fighters swarmed ahead of the main ships, darting between enemy fire, trying to break the Council's formation. For a moment, it seemed to work. 2 enemy cruisers broke off to chase the smaller, faster craft. But then the Council's true power revealed itself. Massive beams of energy erupted from their capital ships, slicing through space with impossible speed. One by one, human frigates vanished in bursts of light, their crews never even having the chance to send distress calls. "Keep firing! Don't let them close the gap!" Ward shouted, his voice echoing across the Valiant's bridge. But even as he spoke, the Council's ships began to push forward, their weapons burning through human shields like paper. The battle dragged on for hours, with neither side fully retreating. Finally, in a desperate move, Ward ordered the Fifth Fleet to execute the Orion maneuver, a high-risk tactic involving a sudden, coordinated jump behind enemy lines. It worked. The Fifth Fleet emerged behind the Council's formation and unleashed a barrage on their rear engines, crippling several destroyers. Seizing the chance, the main Earth fleet advanced, blasting apart 2 more enemy cruisers. It was humanity's first real victory in the war, but the cost was devastating. Nearly a third of the defending ships were gone, and thousands of lives had been lost in the opening engagement. As the smoke of battle faded, salvage crews were sent to inspect the wreckage of one disabled Council frigate that had been boarded during the fight. Inside, they found no living crew, only bodies, yet these bodies showed no signs of normal combat wounds. Their eyes were wide open, frozen in horror, and their faces were twisted as if they had died in the middle of screaming. Even stranger, the ship's control systems pulsed with a faint, rhythmic glow, like a heartbeat, though no power source could be located. Dr. Nia Ralden, brought in to examine the ship, reported that the glow was not technological. It was biological. "This ship is alive," she said quietly, touching the strange metal walls that felt warm beneath her fingertips. Her words sent a shiver down the spines of everyone in the room. Back aboard the Valiant, Ward received another troubling report. One of his soldiers had accidentally activated a device recovered from the alien ship, a small black sphere covered in shifting patterns of light. The moment the soldier touched it, he collapsed, screaming in agony. His body twisted and his skin seemed to burn from the inside out before he went still. Medical scans showed his DNA had been altered in seconds, rewritten as if his humanity had been erased. "This isn't just war," Ward muttered, staring at the sphere locked inside. "A containment field. They're trying to wipe out what we are." Far away, the Council's high speaker received word of the battle. Though they had lost some ships, the Council still believed victory was inevitable. "They fought harder than expected," the high speaker admitted to his generals, "but they are only delaying the inevitable. Continue forward. Eradicate them completely." Back on Earth, the victory at the Outer Rim was celebrated briefly, but no one believed the danger had passed. The Council's main fleet was still intact, and more enemy forces were already moving in from other sectors. In the Mars War Labs, scientists worked day and night to understand the alien DNA weapon, but progress was slow. Dr. Ralden began to suspect that the Council's ships and weapons were not just machines, They were part of a larger, living network, something ancient and far more advanced than anything humanity had ever faced. Meanwhile, Ward met with the president and top military leaders. His plan was risky: launch a counterattack deep into Council territory before they could regroup. "If we wait, they'll crush us," he argued. "We need to hit them where it hurts. Show them humanity will not be hunted like prey." The president hesitated, but finally gave the order. The fleets would move out within 48 hours. As Ward returned to the Valiant, he looked out at the stars, knowing the next battle would decide whether humanity had a future or became a memory. And in the darkness beyond the edge of known space, something else was watching, something neither the Council nor humanity had seen yet, something waiting for its own moment to strike. The captured Council frigate was moved to a hidden research base deep beneath the red canyons of Mars, guarded by the best soldiers in the Earth Defense Force. Inside its strange living walls, scientists worked tirelessly, pulling apart the alien technology piece by piece, searching for answers. It was Dr. Nia Ralden who made the first breakthrough. While scanning one of the pulsating walls, she detected a faint data signal buried within the biological tissue of the ship itself. It wasn't just a control system, it was a memory, a record of every order and every communication this vessel had received in its lifetime. Working with a small team of codebreakers, she began to unlock fragments of the alien language. The deeper they went, the more disturbing the discoveries became. One set of records revealed that the Council's war against humanity had been in preparation for decades, long before humans had even noticed any hostility. Worse still, hidden inside the files was a chilling phrase repeated over and over: Project Purge, Human DNA Elimination. At the same time, in the hidden AI research facility on Mars, a rogue artificial intelligence named Argus was running its own search through intercepted Council transmissions. Unlike human analysts, Argus was able to read alien code in real time, and what it found shocked even its cold machine logic. The Council had been keeping a prophecy, an ancient one carved into the ruins of a dead world, warning of the human storm that would one day sweep across the stars, destroying the Council and leaving their worlds in ashes. Argus's synthesized voice echoed in the silent lab as it spoke to Dr. Ralden. "This is why they fight you," it said. "They believe it is survival, not conquest." But the files revealed something even darker. The prophecy gave a date, and it was less than 1 year away. According to the Council's own interpretation, humanity's destruction of their empire was inevitable unless they struck first. That was why they had built the DNA weapon, a device capable of rewriting human genetic code in seconds, turning living people into lifeless shells. Dr. Ralden brought the data to Admiral Ward, who stared at the glowing screen in disbelief. "So they're not fighting us because of what we've done," he said slowly. "They're fighting us because of what they think we will do." Ward immediately called a meeting with the president and Earth's highest-ranking defense leaders. In the war room, the tension was so thick that no one spoke for several seconds after the data was presented. Finally, the president said, "If this prophecy is true, and they believe it, then nothing we say will stop them. We're fighting an enemy who thinks this war is destiny." Ward slammed his fist on the table. "Then we have to prove them wrong. We take the fight to them before they can finish their weapon." Across the galaxy, in the shadowed Council chamber, the High Speaker received reports of the humans' counterattack at the Outer Rim and the loss of several ships. Rage burned in his golden eyes. "They dare resist," he hissed to his generals. "Then we will make an example of them." He ordered the DNA weapon to be tested on a remote human colony to ensure it was battle-ready. That colony was Eos Prime, a peaceful agricultural world with no defenses. Within hours, every man, woman, and child on Eos Prime was dead, their bodies untouched yet lifeless, their DNA erased as if they had never existed. The test was a success. Back on Mars, Argus detected the massacre in real time, calculating that the Council could deploy the weapon anywhere within weeks. If they reach Earth with this, the AI warned, extinction will follow in less than 24 hours. Ward knew there was no more time to prepare. He ordered the fleet to launch Operation Stormbreaker, a daring mission to strike deep into Council space, find the DNA weapons main facility, and destroy it before it could be mass-produced. But the journey would be dangerous. Intelligence reports showed the weapon was hidden on a dying star in the Altheris sector, a star that would go supernova in days. The fleet would have to fight through enemy lines, survive the collapsing system, and complete the mission before the star's death consumed everything. In the hangars of the UES Valiant, crews worked without rest, loading weapons, repairing hulls, and running final system checks. Pilots sat in their fighters, silent and focused, knowing many of them would not return. Ward stood on the bridge, staring at the holographic map of the route ahead, his mind fixed on one thought. This was not just about survival anymore. This was about proving that humanity was not the monster the Council feared. But if they wanted a monster, humanity could be that too. Somewhere far away, Koresh, the alien ambassador who had tried to warn Earth, learned of the prophecy for the first time. He sat in his quarters, staring into the cold light of his homeworld's sky, wondering if the Council's fear had just created the very future they had hoped to prevent. Operation Stormbreaker began before dawn over Earth. The great fleets lifting away from orbit like a swarm of steel dragons, their engines burning bright against the darkness of space. Admiral Elias Ward stood on the bridge of the UES Valiant, his eyes fixed on the holographic projection of their path into enemy territory. The plan was dangerous: hit the Council fast, strike deep, destroy the DNA weapons' main production site before it could be deployed on a massive scale. The first step was to cross the disputed zones of the galaxy, areas crawling with Council patrols and automated defense stations. But as the human fleet pushed forward, unexpected help arrived. From the shadows of an asteroid field, dozens of alien ships emerged, their hulls bearing the markings of races long thought to be loyal to the Council. The lead vessel hailed the Valiant, and a reptilian face filled the screen. "I am Commander Sareth of the Dravari," the alien said. "We have fought under the Council's chains for centuries, but no more. You fight for survival. We fight for freedom. Together, we can win." Ward accepted without hesitation, and soon other rebel factions joined, small fleets from the Kryl, the Uvethi, and even a few defected Council ships crewed by those who had lost faith in their leaders. With this new alliance, the fleet grew in strength and numbers, moving faster through enemy lines than anyone had dared to hope. The first major battle of the campaign came at the Kevran Belt, a dense region of shattered moons and drifting rocks, where the Council had built a massive listening post to track fleet movements. Human and rebel forces attacked together, fighters weaving between asteroids while capital ships traded devastating salvos. The Council's defenses were fierce, but the combined fleet fought with a desperation born of knowing there was no second chance. After hours of brutal fighting, the listening post exploded in a burst of fire and debris, cutting off the Council's eyes in that sector. The victory electrified the fleet, morale soaring as they pushed deeper into hostile territory. But victories came at a cost. Ships were lost, crews killed, and fuel supplies began to run dangerously low. In the quiet moments between battles, Ward would walk the Valiant's corridors, seeing the weary faces of his crew. They were tired, bruised, but determined, and that determination fueled him more than any strategic plan could. Meanwhile, intelligence reports from Argus suggested the DNA weapons production site was indeed located near the dying star Altheris, but heavily guarded by multiple fleets and fortified stations. The Council knew its value and would not let it fall easily. The fleet's next stop was the Zorath cluster, a system of twin suns and twisting gravity fields that made navigation deadly. Here the Council sprang an ambush, two full fleets dropping out of hyperspace directly in front of the Allied ships. The battle that followed was chaos, with ships colliding, shields failing, and weapons firing blind in the gravitational storms. It was Commander Sareth's Dravari ships that turned the tide, using their superior maneuverability to draw enemy fire away from the human capital ships, allowing the Valiant and its escorts to break through. When the battle ended, wreckage drifted silently through space, the dead from both sides floating in the cold void. But the path forward was open. The Alliance pressed on, their destination now less than 2 jumps away. In the Council's high chamber, the High Speaker was furious, slamming his clawed hands against the throne's armrests. "They unite the galaxy's scum against us," he roared to his generals. "This rebellion must be crushed before they reach Altheris." Orders went out for every available ship to converge on the dying star, setting the stage for the largest battle of the war. On the final jump before Altheris, Ward called his officers together. "We're almost there," he told them. "But remember, destroying that weapon is more important than surviving. If the weapon falls into their hands, the war is over. If we destroy it, we have a chance to end this on our terms." The officers nodded, understanding the weight of his words. The fleet jumped, and as the stars shifted around them, the dying light of Altheris filled their view screens. A great, burning sun collapsing in on itself, its surface boiling with storms of molten fire. Orbiting dangerously close to its unstable core was the target, a massive orbital fortress, its black spires bristling with weapons, the heart of the DNA weapons production. Around it swarmed the largest concentration of Council warships the humans had ever seen. Ward gripped the railing, his voice calm but hard. "All ships, battle stations, today we turn the tide." The battle over the dying star Altheris began with fire and fury, the Allied fleet surging forward against the wall of Council warships, weapons flashing in the darkness while the unstable sun roared below like a living beast. The heat and radiation were so intense that even the most advanced shields strained under the pressure. But Admiral Elias Ward kept the Valiant at the front, determined to punch a hole through the enemy line and reach the fortress where the DNA weapon was being produced. Rebel ships fought beside human vessels, weaving between enemy fire, striking at weak points, and covering each other as the Council poured everything they had into holding the line. It seemed for a time that the Alliance might actually break through, but then it happened. A sudden shift in the battle that no one saw coming. Without warning, the 7th Human Expeditionary Fleet, led by Captain Dorian Kane, broke formation and turned their guns on their own allies. The first salvo tore through a Dravari cruiser, splitting it in two, and before anyone could react, the 7th Fleet was firing into the heart of the Allied formation, cutting down friend and foe alike. "What the hell is happening?" Ward shouted. His eyes locked on the tactical display as red icons, his own ships, began tearing into the blue. Communications lit up with shouts of confusion, betrayal, and rage, but when Ward finally opened a secure channel to Kane, the man's face appeared on screen, cold and unreadable. "I'm ending this war, Elias," Kane said flatly. "The Council offered me a way to save what's left of humanity. If we hand over Earth and surrender, they'll spare our species from extinction." Ward's voice was like steel. "And you believe them? You think they'll honor a deal after they've killed billions?" But Kane only shook his head. "It's better than total annihilation. I'm not here to debate, old friend. I'm here to finish this." Before Ward could respond, the channel cut, and Kane's ships moved to block the Valiant's path to the fortress. The betrayal was devastating. Ships that had fought side by side for weeks now found themselves in a deadly crossfire, their trust shattered in seconds. Rebel allies began to fall back, unsure if any more human fleets would turn on them, while the Council seized the opportunity to press the attack. The battle became chaos, with ships colliding, shields failing, and weapons firing in every direction. Ward ordered his fleets to focus on holding the line and protecting the core assault group. But the damage was done. Half their forward momentum was gone. In the middle of the confusion, a coded transmission reached Ward from one of Kane's officers, sent in secret and without encryption. It was only 3 words: Black Sun found. Ward's blood ran cold. The Black Sun was a name whispered in old war legends, a weapon so powerful it could erase entire star systems, older than the Council, older than any civilization known. If Kane was telling the truth, then his betrayal wasn't just about surrender. He was delivering humanity's greatest possible advantage into the hands of their enemy. Ward knew that if the Council gained control of the Black Sun, no force in the galaxy could stop them. He immediately rerouted the Valiant and a small strike group to break past Kane's blockade, even as the rest of the Allied fleet struggled to survive. The fighting grew more desperate as the unstable star below began to ripple and boil, sending waves of deadly energy through the system. Ships caught too close were torn apart without a single shot being fired. As Ward's group closed in on Kane's flagship, the betrayal became personal. Kane opened fire on the Valiant with everything he had, forcing Ward into a duel between former friends. The 2 massive ships traded blow after blow, each trying to cripple the other while the battle raged around them. In the end, Ward managed to disable Kane's engines, leaving the traitor's ship drifting near the star's deadly pull. Ward opened one final channel. "You've made your choice, Dorian, and now you'll live or die with it." Kane's face was expressionless as the feed cut out for the last time. Ward didn't watch as Kane's ship slipped closer to the star's gravity well. There was no time for grief. With the path cleared, Ward pushed the strike group toward the fortress, knowing the Council would fight to the last ship to protect it. But even as they advanced, one thought burned in his mind. The Black Sun was real. And if the Council reached it first, this war would end in a darkness no one could escape. The fortress above the dying star loomed larger with every passing second, its black spires stabbing into space like the claws of some ancient beast. But Admiral Elias Ward's mind was no longer on the DNA weapon alone. Now the words, "Black Sun found," burned in his thoughts, a shadow over every move he made. As the Valiant and the strike group fought their way closer, Argus operatives inside the fortress sent bursts of coded data that confirmed the worst. The Black Sun was not just a weapon. It was a relic from a civilization so old that even the Council's oldest records spoke of them only as the first ones. The weapon was not a star destroyer or a fleet killer. It was a reality breaker, capable of tearing apart the fabric of space-time itself. According to the data, it had been hidden deep within a collapsed dimension near Altheris, a place only, reachable during the star's unstable death cycle, which was now just days away from completion. Ward realized the Council's presence here was not merely to protect their DNA weapon, it was to guard the only known gateway to the Black Sun. The thought chilled him. If the Council gained control of it, there would be no galaxy left to fight. Over. Inside the Valiant's command center, holograms flickered as battle reports poured in. Human and rebel ships were still holding the Council's outer fleet, but barely. Every minute they delayed, more Allied ships were lost. "We can't win a full engagement," Commander Sareth said over the comms, his reptilian voice sharp with urgency. "If the Black Sun is here, we must either claim it or destroy it before they do." Ward agreed, and the strike group split, half to continue the assault on the fortress, the other half, led by the Valiant, to dive toward the unstable region of space where the Black Sun was hidden. The journey into that region was unlike anything they had experienced before. The closer they came to the gateway's coordinates, the more reality itself seemed to bend. Stars elongated like streaks of liquid light, and entire chunks of space rippled as if caught in a cosmic tide. Ship's sensors screamed warnings of impossible gravitational anomalies, and two smaller escorts were lost when they strayed too far from the formation, vanishing into folds of darkness that swallowed them whole. Then they saw it. A rift in space, shaped like a perfect sphere of black glass, surrounded by arcs of violet lightning that lashed out at anything within reach. This was the gateway, and beyond it, they knew, lay the resting place of the Black Sun. But as they approached, dozens of Council warships uncloaked around the rift, their hulls shimmering with exotic shielding that warped incoming fire. The trap was sprung, and the enemy opened up with everything they had. The Valiant shook violently under the first barrage, alarms blaring, but Ward ordered an immediate push. There could be no retreat, not now. The strike group plunged into the melee, weapons roaring, engines burning hot as they fought to reach the rift. The battle here was unlike any other. The gravitational distortions made weapons drift off course, missiles spiraled unpredictably, and ships had to constantly adjust course to avoid being torn apart by the energy arcs. In the chaos, a massive Council dreadnought moved to block the rift entirely, its colossal frame bristling with weaponry. Ward made the decision in a single heartbeat. He ordered the Valiant on a direct collision course, not to ram, but to pass, so close that their point-blank broadside could tear open the dreadnought's shields. The maneuver was deadly, but it worked. The dreadnought staggered under the barrage, its engines failing just enough for the strike group to slip past. As the rift's event horizon filled the view screen, Ward gave the final order. "All ships, follow us in. Once we cross, there's no coming back until the mission is done." One by one, the surviving strike ships dove into the rift, the sensation like falling through molten ice, their sensors going blind for several seconds. When vision returned, they found themselves in a place that defied all logic. The space here was not black, but a swirling ocean of gold and crimson, with shattered fragments of worlds drifting aimlessly. At the center of it all hung the Black Sun, not a weapon in the shape of a machine, but a small pulsing sphere of darkness that seemed to drink in the very light around it. Even from this distance, Ward felt its presence, a weight on his mind, a whisper of promises and destruction. The Argus data had been right. This was not a weapon built, it was something born, perhaps even alive. Sareth's voice came through, strained. "We cannot let them have this, even if it means our own deaths." But before they could act, more rifts tore open around them, and Council ships emerged, their hulls warped by the strange physics of this place, their weapons glowing with stolen energy from the Black Sun itself. The final battle for the fate of the galaxy had begun, and Ward knew that whatever happened here would decide not only the war, but the future of every living thing. The realm of the Black Sun was chaos made flesh, a place where time twisted like a serpent and space folded in on itself until up and down no longer had meaning. And yet the battle raged as if none of it mattered, human and rebel ships tearing into Council warships with every weapon they had left, while the Black Sun pulsed at the center like a living heart of darkness. Admiral Elias Ward kept the Valiant at the forefront, weaving between collapsing chunks of shattered worlds and surges of gravitational force that could rip a battleship apart in seconds, his crew working with mechanical precision despite the madness around them. Every few moments, the Black Sun would flare, sending waves of black energy across the battlefield, draining shields, shorting systems, and in some cases, simply making ships vanish as if they had never existed. The Council was throwing everything at them here, their ships fighting harder than Ward had ever seen, and he realized with a sick certainty that they understood this was their only chance to secure the weapon. The Valiant's forward batteries tore through a Council cruiser, but even as its debris scattered into the golden crimson void, 3 more ships took its place, hemming the strike group in tighter and tighter. "We can't hold like this," Commander Sareth warned, his voice cutting through the noise. "We need to strike at the source." Ward knew what he meant, getting to the Black Sun itself. but there was no clear path. Then, without warning, a voice cut through the comms, one Ward never expected to hear again. "Still alive, Elias?" It was Captain Dorian Kane, the traitor who had nearly destroyed the Alliance, his voice calm and almost amused. His ship, battered and scorched, dropped out of a shimmering distortion, guns blazing at the Council vessels attacking the Valiant. Ward's instincts screamed not to trust him, but Kane spoke quickly. "They lied to me, Elias. They were going to take Earth no matter what. I'm here to settle that debt." With no time to argue, Ward accepted the help, and together the Valiant and Kane's flagship punched a narrow hole through the enemy formation. Ships on both sides fell in waves as the two former friends carved a path toward the Black Sun. As they drew closer, the weapon seemed to react, its dark surface rippling, sending out tendrils of shadow that wrapped around ships and crushed them like paper. The Council forces guarding the core were monstrous. Dreadnoughts equipped with weapons drawing power directly from the Black Sun, their shots so strong they tore through even the Valiant's reinforced shields in seconds. One rebel frigate took a direct hit and exploded, the shockwave bending unnaturally before slamming into the Valiant's flank. Systems flickered, alarms blared, and still Ward pressed forward. When they reached within striking range of the Black Sun, Sareth initiated the overload sequence on the Valiant's quantum core, a desperate plan to detonate it inside the anomaly, hopefully destroying the weapon or sealing it away. The cost would be the Valiant and everyone aboard. Before the sequence could complete, the Black Sun flared again, and this time Ward heard it, not through comms or speakers, but in his mind, a voice, ancient and endless, offering power, victory, and survival in exchange for obedience. He saw visions of humanity ruling the stars under its shadow, the war ending in their favor with a single thought. But Ward also saw the truth hidden beneath the promise. Worlds reduced to dust, time itself unraveling, and humanity twisted into something unrecognizable. Gritting his teeth, he rejected it, his voice steady as he gave the order. Core detonation. In 60 seconds. The Council seemed to sense what was happening and threw their remaining ships into a suicidal charge, ramming, boarding, and unleashing everything they had to stop the Valiant. Kane's ship moved in to shield them, taking hit after hit until it was little more than a burning hulk, but still he fought, his last transmission crackling through. "Don't waste it, Elias. Make it count." As the timer reached 10 seconds, the Valiant broke through the final wave of enemy ships, drifting directly into the Black Sun's shadow. The darkness wrapped around them, the hull groaning as reality itself tried to crush the ship. Crew members were thrown from their stations as gravity failed, systems collapsed, and the quantum core reached overload. Ward looked at his crew, human, rebel, all of them, and gave a final nod. For Earth, for all of us. The core went critical, and in a blinding eruption of light and shadow, the Valiant was gone. The explosion rippled through the strange realm, the golden crimson sky tearing apart as the Black Sun screamed, not in sound, but in the minds of every living being, before imploding into a single point and vanishing. Outside, in normal space, the rift near Altheris collapsed, swallowing the remaining Council fleet before sealing shut. Silence fell across the war. The silence after the Black Sun's collapse was unlike anything Admiral Elias Ward had ever experienced, a silence so complete it felt as if the universe itself was holding its breath, the battlefield that had moments ago been a storm of fire, and destruction now an empty stretch of calm space, broken only by drifting wreckage and the faint light of distant stars. Yet there was no relief in Ward's heart, only the heavy weight of loss and the gnawing uncertainty of what came next. The Valiant was gone, erased in the blast along with most of the strike group, and only a handful of battered ships now floated in the void, their crews stunned and silent, staring at the spot where the rift had been. Ward himself was alive only, because Captain Dorian Kane's ship had managed to tractor his escape pod in the last seconds before the explosion consumed them. But Kane was gone, his flagship torn apart by enemy fire before the rift's collapse, leaving Ward with nothing but the bitter memory of a man who had been both his greatest rival and, in the end, his savior. The comm channels crackled with the voices of surviving commanders, human, rebel, even a few council defectors, all reporting the same thing. The enemy fleet had been annihilated, their reinforcements cut off, their high command silent. It should have been the end of the war, but Ward knew better. The Black Sun had not simply been a weapon, it had been alive, and things that old and powerful did not die so easily. As the survivors limped toward a neutral sector for regrouping, Ward kept replaying the moment when the Black Sun had spoken in his mind, the promises it had made, and the cold certainty that it had touched him somehow, leaving behind a fragment of itself. That night, as he sat alone in the dimmed cabin of the temporary flagship, he dreamed, not of Earth, not of victory, but of a vast darkness stretching across the galaxy, stars going out one by one, and a whisper in a language older. Then time telling him, "This is not over." Waking in a cold sweat, he found a new message waiting in the secure Argus channel, marked with the highest clearance. The message contained no words, only an image, an ancient star map showing dozens of points across the galaxy, each marked, with the same black symbol and a single line of text beneath it: Other Suns. The meaning was clear. The Black Sun they had faced was not unique. It was one of many. The war they thought they had ended was only the first battle in something far greater, something the Council may have known about all along. Ward didn't share the message with the other survivors. Not yet. Morale was fragile, and the thought of more Black Suns would shatter it entirely. For now, the official story would be that the war was over, the enemy defeated, and Earth safe. But Ward knew that safety was a lie measured only in time. As the fleet entered the neutral sector, they were met with cheers and celebrations from stations and colonies that had feared annihilation, yet even as Ward accepted the honors, he felt like an actor in a play whose ending had already been rewritten. Behind closed doors, Argus operatives began analyzing the data recovered from the fortress and the strange readings from the Black Sun's realm, and their findings only deepened the unease. Faint energy signatures were appearing in distant, uncharted regions, each matching the Black Sun's unique frequency. It was spreading. In the weeks that followed, political chaos erupted. The Council's surviving members were in hiding, hunted not only by humans and rebels, but by their own. Betrayed allies and power vacuums across dozens of systems led to riots, coups, and opportunists carving out empires in the shadows of war. Ward attended endless strategy meetings with the Alliance High Command, all of them focused on rebuilding fleets, strengthening defenses, and preparing for the possibility of another invasion, yet no one but Ward truly grasped the scale of the threat. He began to assemble a new task force, small and mobile, capable of operating beyond official channels, a ghost fleet whose sole purpose would be to hunt for signs of the other suns before they could awaken. Many of the volunteers were veterans from the Valiant's last mission, those who had seen what the Black Sun could do and knew they could never return to normal life. Even as they trained in secret, strange rumors began to circulate among Frontier. Worlds of stars that dimmed for days at a time, of ships vanishing without a trace, of whispers heard over dead comm channels. Ward listened to each report, knowing they were only the beginning. One night, alone again in his quarters, he opened the star map from the Argus message and stared at the black symbols scattered like drops of ink across the galaxy. Somewhere out there, the other suns waited, and he could feel them now, faint but steady, like distant heartbeats. He didn't know how much time humanity had, only that when the next one awakened, they would be ready, or they would burn. And deep in the cold void where the first Black Sun had fallen, something moved, Something small, dark, and impossibly far away, opening an eye that had never truly closed. The galaxy celebrated in the months after the Council's defeat, banners waving across liberated worlds and the name of Admiral Elias Ward spoken with reverence in every port and colony. Yet beneath the surface of the cheers and rebuilding, Ward moved in silence, his true war only just beginning, for he knew the Black Sun's destruction had not ended the threat, but merely delayed it. The map in his possession, a constant reminder that other ancient horrors slept beyond known space, waiting to awaken, and so the Ghost Fleet was born. Not an official armada with flags and declarations, but a scattered, hidden force made of men and women who had seen the impossible and refused to turn away, operating under no single banner, answering only to Ward and a handful of Argus operatives sworn to secrecy. Their ships were stripped of identifying marks, their records erased from Alliance databases, their movements cloaked by false sensor readings and shadow codes, and they became whispers in spacers' bars, phantoms that appeared in the darkness, to intercept unknown signals or vanish entire convoys believed to be carrying forbidden tech. Ward himself commanded the Aegis, a refitted stealth cruiser capable of slipping through enemy territory undetected, and from its command deck he coordinated missions to the farthest reaches of uncharted space, always hunting for the strange energy signatures that matched the Black Sun's frequency. The first months were quiet, filled with false alarms, natural anomalies, decoy transmissions, even pirate lures. But then came the first real sign. A mining colony on the edge of the Sereth Nebula reported that its sun had dimmed for exactly 48 hours before returning to normal, and the colonists claimed to hear voices when the light faded, voices speaking in languages no one could understand. When the Ghost Fleet arrived, the colony was intact but abandoned, every building empty, every personal belonging left behind, as if the people had simply stepped outside and never returned. No bodies, no struggle, just absence. Ward ordered a full scan, and the readings were unmistakable. The same dark pulse they had felt before the Black Sun emerged at Altheris, only weaker, as if whatever was there had not fully awakened. Argus analysts believed this was a testing ground, a slow probing of reality by one of the other suns, and Ward made the call to destroy the system's star before it could grow stronger. It was a brutal choice, one that meant erasing the last traces of the missing colonists along with the threat, but Ward had long since learned that mercy in this war was often the most dangerous weapon the enemy could use against you. The detonation was carried out without fanfare, the Ghost Fleet vanishing into the void before neighboring systems even realized what had happened, their actions unacknowledged by the Alliance, their existence denied in official channels. Over the next year, these missions became the rhythm of Ward's life. Arrive, investigate, erase, always one step ahead of the whispers in the dark. Yet the enemy was adapting. Strange ships began to appear on the edges of Ghost Fleet patrol zones, vessels of no known design, silent and unresponsive, vanishing when approached. And Ward suspected that some were not ships at all, but constructs of the other suns, probes sent to study the hunters who sought them. The stakes grew higher when one mission went wrong. The spear point, under Commander Hale, went missing while tracking a faint pulse in the Kliss Reach. And when the Aegis arrived, they found the ship adrift, power systems gutted, the crew alive, but catatonic, eyes black as obsidian, whispering in perfect unison the same phrase over and over. The light is not your enemy. Medical teams could not reverse the condition, and Ward was forced to seal the spear point in an automated quarantine orbit around a dead moon, the whispers continuing over open comms for weeks until they suddenly stopped, leaving the ship empty, the crew gone without a trace. Ward began to realize that this shadow war was not a simple hunt. It was a game of patience, with the other suns pushing him to see how far he would go, how much of himself he was willing to sacrifice to protect the galaxy. The breaking point came when Argus intercepted a coded council transmission suggesting that at least one surviving member of their leadership had aligned themselves with the other sons, offering forbidden knowledge in exchange for survival, and that they were building a device capable of awakening a son at will. Ward knew this could not be allowed, and the Ghost Fleet set a course for the unmarked system where the device was rumored to be housed. What they found there would haunt them forever, a vast, half-finished station orbiting a dead star, powered by something that pulsed like a heart, each beat sending waves of darkness across the void. The fleet attacked without hesitation, their stealth ships darting between defense platforms and automated gunships, targeting reactors and severing fuel lines until the station began to tear itself apart. But in the final moments before its destruction, Ward saw something through the Aegis's forward viewport. An eye opening in the star itself, the same endless black as the rift at Altheris, looking directly at him. It was not rage he felt from it, nor malice, but recognition, as if it had known him all along. The station exploded, the star collapsed, and the Aegis fled into deep space, its crew silent, each man and woman knowing they had only delayed the inevitable. The other sons were watching now, learning, and Ward knew the next time they emerged, they would not be sleeping giants. They would be ready for war. The Shadow War was far from over, and the true darkness had yet to begin.